Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack. Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With practice and qualifying in the books from Charlotte, the boys are back. Sorry to those that didn't get to see our early week episode. There was one. YouTube decided that it was needed to come down for some reason. We think we have an idea of why, but we'll see what happens. As a reminder, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you can get podcasts. So if you go to YouTube and it's not there, check those other places and make sure that it didn't get you. Spotify has videos. We appreciate everybody who watches on YouTube. Smash the like, hit subscribe, do all the things while you're there. But if you think we should have an episode and it's not there, check over there. Hopefully this never happens again and we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it was a fun couple of days. Brian Twining live from Las Vegas. How's it going, Brian?
It's going good, my friend. Just still tilting about the end of the Xfinity race. As I've said many times before, anytime that I back one Mr. Justin Allgaier, it never pays off. So
he was gonna pit, he was gonna get what he needed, and he was gonna win. And the guy behind him's like, "No, I'm staying out." And then Allgaier stays out. And
I won't even get too in depth about that. But yeah, for the Coke 600, we got to see some surprise performers in both practice and in qualifying with Chase Briscoe. Like, where the hell did that come from? Grabbing the pole, especially after Toyota's the JGR crew again didn't look all that good in practice outside of Ty Gibbs, which we've seen this story multiple times already this year. I'm not going to be fooled by that again. But I'm excited for this race. It's the longest race of the year. Hopefully Mother Nature stays the F away and we get all 400 laps uninterrupted.
I'm hoping we have a hell of a Sunday.
Oh, that's
Monaco in the morning, Indy in the afternoon, and then
let's agree here that Monaco is not really a race. Okay, it's a pageant. Look at these beautiful cars. They're just going to follow the leader the whole time. We had to come up with a gimmick for a second pit stop requirement in order for it to have the appearance of guys actually racing.
I knew I'd regret bringing up F1. It's sort of standard. But yeah, practice is done. Qualifying is done. We're here to break it all down. We'll run through the player pool, talk about some thoughts, some guys that stood out, some guys that didn't. Brian, I have one question for you before I bring it up the screen. Do we have a sporty car of the week?
You bet your ass. And this week,
is it Chase Briscoe?
With the extra long race, it's a double feature of sporty.
Oh, double sport. Put that shit on ice and let's go. All right, I'm going to pull up my screen here. We'll run through the player pool. There we go. I will need your input, Brian, as I was finishing up a car purchase this morning, so I did not get to watch practice and qualifying, but I got my notes. You got your notes. We got our numbers. We got all of the information thanks to our friends over at wintherace.com. Highly recommend getting in there now that the All-Star break is behind you. Get in for a month. Check it out. We're having fun in the Discord. We're figuring stuff out for trucks, for Xfinity, and obviously for the Cup races. We're talking about all kinds of nonsense. So jump in there, get your sims, get your betting tools, get your extra things, plus just the interaction with some really awesome people. Brian Twining, Kyle Larson, front row, 11-5. Denny Hamlin starting 20th at 11. Christopher Bell starting 10th. William Byron 3rd. Ryan Blaney 21st. Tyler Reddick 12th. Interesting group. Obviously the who's of prices, but Hendrick near the front. Some other guys kind of mid-pack, some other guys towards the back. Who is most interesting to you in terms of cost, upside, potential, all that stuff?
Well, I think you definitely have to take a step back and understand that with us having a full extra stage, essentially running 133 more laps than what we've seen at other mile and a halves this year, that presents a much larger opportunity for dominators to come into play. I mean, if we get another Kyle Larson performance where he's the best car on Sunday, then I mean, 300 laps led, that's definitely a possibility, and you'd be really sad if you didn't have him in your lineup. Although I don't see that happening just with the amount of pit stops, but this is a much more difficult race to try to find that stuff because there's going to be many more options there. Which leads me to, if I'm building a lineup out of these guys based on what I saw in practice, I, I'm going to save money and just go to the very bottom and go Tyler Reddick starting 12th because of all of these guys, he was probably the best practicer today, and he's been so good at Charlotte. I think you're going to get placement points and the potential of him jumping to the front while saving, I mean, $1,500 just to start your lineup. That's not saying you can't put both him and Larson if you finagle the roster good enough. But yeah, for me, I'm going to start at the bottom with the cheapest guy who had quite possibly the best car in practice.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the notes from iFantasy Race, but I believe Reddick was really good at both. Was fast at both Vegas and at Texas,
Correct. Yeah.
but was slow at Kansas. But actually, and
Well,
we kind of
I was just gonna say 2311 has really sucked at Kansas the last year plus, including this year. So,
so even though his results at those first two
yeah,
tracks weren't there, he definitely had the speed, and if he can convert that on Sunday,
mhm.
especially what we saw on Saturday, I think he could be very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're gonna need Larson or probably Byron in your lineup just because they're gonna be probably 30+% rostered this
Yeah.
week. The HMS power here in Charlotte is legit.
We'll talk about Brad K here in a little bit, but interesting note from RotoDoc is his first lap was really, really slow, and it kind of screwed up his 30 lap averages. But he had a really fast 25, and if that doesn't come in, maybe his 30 looks a lot better. So,
Wait, you're talking about Kozlowski?
yeah.
Wow, we haven't even got to Brad yet.
No, I know. I'm just pulling up notes as I'm scrolling through looking for information and seeing what sticks, making sure I get these notes out to the people because sometimes we get going and we get excited and all of a sudden we totally forget about what we were going to talk about. Beyond so Reddick obviously, Larson obviously. Are you interested in Blaney or Hamlin as guys who could start farther back, move forward, and be a factor late?
Yeah, I look, although neither of them looked fantastic in practice, this is the type of race where they have plenty of time to get better and at the end of the day wind up in a position that we had expected prior to seeing them on track today. So, obviously I'm not going to completely avoid them, but I just think from what we saw today, past finishes here, overall speed at this track type, I gravitate to Reddick immediately. And this is coming from a guy who's actually been off the 45 the last couple of times we've been at
Mhm.
mile and a half. So I don't know. Take that
Yeah.
with a grain of salt as you will, but
Yeah, it's just that the itch is coming back and you just can't stay out that long. I totally get it.
yeah.
Denny's numbers in terms of speed is interesting too because he was really slow at both Texas and Vegas and was much faster at Kansas.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But Denny is one of those guys who the longer the race goes, the more they're allowed to or they're able to work on their car. If we get extended green flag runs, I mean,
Yeah.
who else is that? Like, I don't think there's anybody in the sport that I would trust as much as Hamlin to
Yeah,
just
and
make his car better.
the jokes obviously write themselves, but Ryan Blaney having more time to wreck and blow up and all that
No,
stuff is
no.
there.
Ryan Blaney having more time to or having more opportunities to pit alone
Yes.
scares the shit out of me.
Well, but it also gives them more time to fix his car, and then he could be fast again
Oh my
and be
god.
back up to the front like Ryan
I guess
Stevens
that's
pointed
one
out
way
on
to
the
look at it,
draft.
yeah.
So we'll figure out what we want to do with Blaney. Christopher Bell was somebody that I know we talked about, and if
Mhm.
you got to see the first episode this week, we were trying to figure out what to do with it. Qualified 10th.
Didn't
Do
look
you
all
have
that
any
great.
more clarity on him?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure to me, I'm kind of looking at Kansas as an anomaly in terms of what the 1.5 package has brought so far this season. Because when you look at all of these tracks as a whole, Christopher Bell really hasn't been good at the other intermediate tracks that we've gone to, whether it's Vegas, Homestead, Darlington, Texas. Like, they've struggled at those places in this package. And Kansas, obviously, a place that he has a tremendous amount of success at before, and the fact that he qualified up front, like, obviously, you're going to run better when you start at the front of the pack. And with Bell not looking as good in practice today, and then qualifying 10th when he went out second to last, it's a little worrisome for me that they haven't necessarily found anything, because I don't think it's a direct transition from Kansas to Charlotte in terms of the way you're going to set up your car.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and I'm wondering if I should have gotten down on some of those head-to-heads prior, because the more we talked about it, the more we looked at it, I was like, oh, that's the outright odd is going one way, but the juice on the matchups is going a different way. I'm not really sure how to.
All of this could be moot tomorrow, because obviously we're going to have a transition from day to night, and there's going to be the track's going to change, setups are going to have to change throughout the day. Adam Stevens and Christopher Bell are amongst the best tandem in the sport at making those changes throughout a race. So I'm not going to count Christopher Bell out. Honestly, he's not somebody that I'm going to fade, and he's not somebody that I'm going to have money on either.
The ultimate Chris Wormy. I'm not on him nor against him. That's kind of where I think we have to be. I think he's too good to go against unless we get like insane numbers, and not there's not enough juice there to be really excited about backing him.
Yeah.
Let's talk the 9Ks. We have Chase Elliott 22nd, Logano 16th. Your boy Ross the Boss Chastain coming for that Josh Berry, starting 40th. I'm gonna
just transition to the 8s.
Yeah, Kyle Busch 24th, Christopher Buescher 4th, Chase Briscoe, as you mentioned, puts it on the pole. Tyrone Saturday Warrior Gibbs starting 7th. Alex Bowman starting inside the top 10, and Barry is the next group. So we'll leave it at Bowman. Interesting group. Obviously, we'll transition to the betting odds, but given where Bowman's top 10 prices at some places and he's starting 9th, the math isn't mathing. So maybe by the time you guys are watching this, the markets have kind of figured that part out. But interesting. So what about this group? Anybody? I mean, Chastain's gonna be mega. Okay. Do you agree that Chastain was good in practice and is worthy of being mega chalk on Sunday?
100%.
Okay.
Ross Chastain took his watermelon and threw it in my face today. That car.
Don't say I didn't tell you. Don't say I didn't tell you.
That car, albeit probably with a little less PSI in the tires than everybody else, which is why he blew some rubber there. That car was ridiculous with the speed that it had, that it was carrying over all the 5-lap averages. And yes, they're going to a backup car, but these teams are so good at making the transition from a primary to a backup and setting it up in the same way. I have no worries whatsoever that he's going to be in a very similar situation or equipment come Sunday. So he's going to make his way through the pack, at least he should, fairly quickly. And with us having as long of a race as it is, I don't expect Ross Chastain to be back there long. So obviously he's a smash in both GPP and cash.
I found a bet that really tickles my fancy.
Oh my gosh.
Bowman and Chastain both in the top 10 plus 320.
I don't hate that.
I mean,
I'd be worried about Chastain with where he's starting and being with the squirrels.
And he could do what he did where has the low tires and he's flying through the field and then
the one thing that he has been really good at this year is making lemonade out of lemons, essentially, especially in the intermediate package when they haven't been so great, and they've been able to still come home with finishes much better than what the equipment actually was. And now that they actually have good equipment, honestly, with me having that pre-practice Barry over Chastain wager, I'm actually kind of happy that he wrecked because then I don't have such a terrible line on that. But honestly, I would not play that now.
But there's also ways to kind of
Oh yeah,
hedge without actually. You could get on some Chastain exposure
oh
without
yeah,
him actually having to beat Barry because we still like Barry. We still think Barry can be pretty solid. So,
yeah.
um, what about like who else from this group? Obviously, Chastain's the mega chalk, but are you interested? I think from I don't know, from a DraftKings perspective, some of
I'm
these
not
guys
playing
are
any of
hard.
those guys.
Yeah. What
I think
about
the only one that I would be interested in of the guys starting inside the top 10 in this range would be Alex Bowman. Just with how solid he's been over the last 8 Coke 600s, he only has 2 finishes worse than 12th here
yeah? It
in
feels
this
like an
race.
interesting piece to pair with Byron or Larson start. Kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, now
Do you
go ahead.
trust Chase as the fourth Hendrick guy?
Less so than Ross, I think, which is wild to say. I mean, honestly, the guy that most intrigues me from this range is going to be Kyle Busch. The fact that he was able to still put it 24th after not practicing at all with a steering problem. Now I know they're going to be going to the rear because they have to make those changes, but this is a track that Kyle Busch has a tremendous amount of success at throughout his career. And if there's one thing that this team has been improving on, it's long run pace at intermediates this year. And Busch has been there multiple times already. He's just wrecked. And so, I mean, obviously, with him moving back, you're losing all those placements to begin the day. But I do think that this is a spot where he could be safe early and make up those spots and be there at the end.
And he has the extra time to make up the difference, right? So he can
Yeah,
still
exactly.
get fastest laps. He can stay out. He can get off kilter, and he could be up there quickly. And then all because he's starting 24th, even on like the DraftKings scoring, right? So it's not like he's starting 8th, and you need him to get all the
Exactly.
way back to the front. You just need him to be mid pack by the end of stage 1 or stage 2, and that seems super doable. And then he's racking up, and then if you truly think he can move forward and he's flirting with the top 10, maybe he's getting near top 5, we see some of that speed because as you mentioned, noted Kyle Busch hater, has been better, especially in mile and a halfs, and just got that new deal with RCR, so he's staying a
Yeah.
while. So
I mean, that could go the other way, though. That could be him just saying, you know what? My future is secure. Like, F it. Who cares? Like, if I wreck today, I'm just going to take out my arch nemesis tonight. Let's go.
yeah, just question is who is that this week? um Do you have any interest in Briscoe or Busher as early
Hell
dominators?
no.
Okay.
Like, I understand. Busher, so I got a little sour taste in my mouth after last race in Kansas with Chris Busher. He kind of fooled us there. I think the top end speed here, I just don't see the the winning pace and starting fourth. Like you're going to need him to stay up front, lead laps, and eventually come home with a victory. When there's guys in this range that offer so much more potential that I have zero interest in either of those two.
Larson and Byron are next to you. Like, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Even at Vegas, he was 18th in terms of speed ranking, 10th at Texas, and 14th at Kansas. So he's able to do more with less. But
Yeah,
no, if I'd much rather have him start 14th and move forward than start 4th and
yeah,
move back.
exactly. Yeah.
Josh Berry, the aforementioned, starting 18th. Brad K, 35th. Cindric, 14th. Bubba, 32nd. Carson Hocevar, 39th. Ryan Preece, 28th. Interesting group of 7K guys. A lot of back markers who can move forward. Do you want some Keselowski, Bubba, or Preece in your life, or Hocevar, who's been a rocket but has to survive 4 stages? I mean, even Josh Berry is almost in the 20s. Who's interesting from that group for you?
Sporty driver number 1 is
Oh,
none other than Brad Keselowski.
okay.
He, in Group 1, they definitely unloaded with some long run pace. And we got to see that. I believe it was at Texas or was it Kansas where he found the front and then he blew a tire.
Yep.
Like similar situation to what happened to Ross today in practice is that the car was set up to drive in traffic. And then when he got out in clean air, he it just was not. He wasn't prepared, nor was the team with the way they set that up for him to be running up front. And so, again, this is another veteran who has a tremendous amount of success in this race. He's a guy that can take care of his equipment over the long run.
All right, so we're gonna steal a little fantasy football thing called Keep Trade Cut, where with the three most popular guys on the DFS slate: Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski, Carson Hocevar. One goes in your lineup, one goes in your player pool, one is left out.
Oh well, easy.
The Ross is left out.
No, easy. Hocevar gets left out. Look,
Okay.
I love myself, the team no lift leader, but yeah, Coke 600. I'm not taking a youngster, and then I got to put Ross in like the bench, and take Keselowski just with his history at this track. He's a veteran, similar breadth of like talking about Denny Hamlin in terms of being able to take care of their equipment over the long haul. So yeah, that to me that's shouldn't be a question.
Yeah, because like Ross, like you mentioned, looked awesome. And if you're doing tournaments, I think fading all three of these guys might be a move, especially if you're doing more than just like a couple lineups. Maybe, if you're only doing a handful, 3, 4, 5, maybe you put 1 or 2 in the lineups. But cash, obviously, go nutty. But I think in tournaments, I think fading guys that are going to be 35, 40, 45% owned, given where they're starting potential upside. And given guys, as Brian mentioned, who have blown tires, who blew a tire today, who constantly get into knucklehead nonsense, who just
are the guys who are the squirrels.
Yes.
At times,
Yes. These are advanced squirrels that have a stockpile of extra nuts, but they're ready to get crazy. So
that's a great way to put it. Advanced squirrels.
Advanced squirrels.
They're the leveled up squirrels.
Exactly. 6K. Daniel Suarez, Noah Gragson, Richard Stenhouse, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, who ran the Xfinity race, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, and Connor Zilich. Interesting group. Do you think mi amigo, who I've liked at 1.5 miles, who stunk at Kansas but was good at Texas and was good at Vegas, can get some of that mojo from his teammate? Or do you think what we saw at Kansas is a little more indicative of what we should expect here, even if we don't think Kansas is the closest of the 3 comps?
So, as I already said, and as you just alluded to,
tell me he's the sporty driver. Tell me amigo.
No. So Suarez is not the sporty driver, but I'm looking at Kansas as more of an outlier intermediate race, just because I think with the way that track has kind of aged, I think it is a little bit different than what we see at Vegas and like Homestead and Texas, and then as we go to Charlotte, and you clearly see the difference, guys that are strong there versus the other intermediates. And so Suarez, for me, I've already played his top 10 post practice and qualifying at a pretty long number that I think is very playable. And Trackhouse in general, they unloaded with some pretty decent long run pace this week. So I actually like that.
Let's go.
Yeah, and I think that the All-Star break did them well in the sense that they were able to take a step back, reevaluate what they were bringing to the track on Saturdays in particular, and look at where they were lacking. And I do think that we start to see them kind of pick up the pace as the season progresses.
Okay, I like it. Who else is interesting? Dillon, McDowell, the Dinger, Zilich, Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse. Anybody?
So I do think Zilich, like I faded him in a couple of matchups at plus money pre-practice and qualifying because I mean, kid's making his Cup Series debut. Of course, that's probably the hardest race on a driver in the sense of like the duration of it. So I just don't know how he's going to stand there, but he's got good equipment underneath him. And so I do think that from this range, just based on where he's starting, I would probably rather have Zilich than Dillon or Jones, just based on the pace that I saw in practice.
Interesting. I mean, he looked good today. Obviously, different car, different series, but
Please don't bring up Xfinity. I'm so angry.
would you rather talk more Xfinity or more F1 or more
Probably
NBA?
more Xfinity. I'll take the heartbreak of an Xfinity loss over follow the leader any day. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gilliland. John Hunt. Let's see. Wait. Gilliland, Zane Smith, John Hunter, Justin Haley, Jimmy Johnson. Sure. Cole Custar, Shane Van Gisbergen, Ty Dillon, Riley Herbst. I'll include Ware, Balicki, and Kraus. We're scraping barrels. Who are we scraping?
Well, this is the range where sporty driver number 2 comes from.
Let me guess.
I don't think you're gonna get it.
Is it a 20? It's not 2311. It's not Trackhouse. I'm gonna go with Cole Custer.
Nope.
Give it to me.
I shocked myself and even wrote down WTF after this guy's lap times that I was
Jimmy Johnson.
Shane Van Gisbergen.
Trackhouse found something.
Like, I was in shock when I was monitoring lap times at around lap 15, 16. This dude was not shitty. It was something to behold. I could not believe my eyes that he was actually keeping pace with the upper echelon of the mid pack. And so for him to be starting 30th, I've already taken a nibble at a very long top 10 price that's available at FanDuel. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, nor do I think, am I super high on this guy? But I don't think a lot of people are going to want to play Shane Van Gisbergen on an oval.
I can tell you what, the last handful of times we've started to convince ourselves that it's doable, and I've done it. And the others that have been and joined me, I can tell you, are not going to be excited to click that name again. So I like where your head's at, sir. I think
that's what I'm saying. Look, Daniel Suarez, he was one of the few guys in Group 1 that ran I think he ran 40 plus laps, and he was good over the long run. I mean, you can go look at lap averages all you want, but you have to consider the fact that when you're going to run that long in practice, you're going to run into guys on fresher tires who are passing you. So you're going to have interesting little mountain ranges of lap times based on running through traffic, running through clean air. And Trackhouse, broken record, they looked much better today than they have all season on a Saturday.
If you have access to FanDuel and you can get down on some of their placement markets, I highly recommend putting that into your rotation because their numbers for top 10s and top 5s for majority of drivers is going to be significantly longer than almost any. They're willing to take on a lot more risk than other places.
Yeah, and then let me also add too with what I saw at practice today. Obviously Group 2, their times got a little funky because of Chastain's spin and wreck, so they had to do a heat cycle and then come back out. But something I did notice was around lap 20, maybe a little bit before, a little bit after, time started to really level off, and it was really hard to disseminate who was the super fast car versus who was the super slow car because the times were only differing by about 2 to 3 tenths from the slowest to the fastest guys. So the speedy cars make up the difference early in the run.
Yeah.
But then late, everybody was running very similar. So, I think this is going to be a spot where if you don't have short run pace, you're going to struggle to make passes. And so Trackhouse looking as good as they did, I think that they can be able to make up spots early in runs and then just maintain and continue to do that throughout the day.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. With that being said, Brian Twining, would you like to build some lineups and see what we can do?
Let's do it. Tyler Reddick.
All right. Oh, okay. Because I was looking and I think If you pivot off of Larson to a Byron to a Reddick, I think you can be pretty unique. I'll be interested to see how everything kind of shakes out comes like once everything locks, but it looks like the ownership will be pretty significant. I'm putting Larson in here too. We're going to double up. So
All right,
we're going to
SVG,
have, okay. I love it.
super cheap.
Welcome to the squad, Daniel Suarez.
I mean,
So we have a lot of, we could go up, we could go down. I don't know if you want to get like ghost full stars and scrubs and just get another cheap guy and then go up, or if you want to try and get a couple guys in like the high sevens, like we could do Brad and something.
Well, let's put Chastain in here. Let's just go full track house, like,
okay,
and then build from there.
Bubba, Hocevar, Priest, Stenhouse, Eric Jones.
Yeah, I don't really hate. I don't hate Jones or Dillon. I think that they could probably maintain enough to get like a top 20.
Yeah. The question is
Now Hocevar, he has pace. I mean, we can get really chalky.
that's the question is like is Jones or Dillon going to be able to get anywhere near, even if it's at a higher roster percentage? Like obviously Ty Dillon sounds fun because super pivoty, but we're also we already did Reddick and Larson, which might be a little bit unique combinatorially, plus a little Suarez and SVG, which I think might give us a little bit of.
This is gonna sound disgusting, but
Or we just do Bubba.
no, or you just do Connor Zillich. You do the entire Trackhouse camp.
I mean, we can, but then we need to like. I don't know. It feels like that's way too much salary on the table for what we're doing.
Okay, so I think there take out Chastain because he's going to be the most rostered guy of that camp, and so now you're getting a little bit of leverage by avoiding him.
But if we go all the other Trackhouse guys, then we assume Trackhouse is going to begin. We just need him to do something stupid so he wrecks himself.
Maybe he wrecks. Like, I mean,
yeah. So you want Blaney? You want Elliott?
Who do you trust more to find the front? Who's been better at mile and a half this year?
I mean, there's one name only.
Yeah, exactly. But
I mean, that's kind of fun.
That's what I'm saying. Look at that.
If you told me if you told me it's the end of the race and it's Larson, Blaney, and Reddick 1, 2, 3.
All three of those guys, by the way, are favored to be the top in their manufacturer.
Yeah. So that means that one of them is going to have a horrible day.
Yeah.
All right, let's build another lineup. All right, we're gonna fade Larson with this lineup.
Okay. Oh, man,
where do you want to go?
Okay, let's put Keselowski in this one.
Okay, because I think by fading Larson, we can do a lot of stuff. Like we can be
that a lot.
Super duper chalky, and it's fine.
And
especially since we didn't play Chastity. Huh?
Maybe here we do Hocevar.
Sure.
And then we just get gross with this last guy. Like obviously, I don't want to play Shane twice. That's terrifying.
Why?
But we might have to because. What's below?
Let's take him out.
Yeah, that's okay. You want to do? Man, this is so hard. We could do.
I'm putting Bubba in.
All right.
And then it is.
They're definitely not playing Jimmy Johnson.
No, God,
Not
no.
starting 17th. I think this. Okay, this
I think it's Shane. I think Shane is the click. He's the click. We won't put him in the next lineup. It's fine.
Oh my gosh.
At 5,300, he makes too much sense.
Okay, I'm gonna put Shane on the write up, and all I'm going to say for his the entire reason why he's in there, sporty driver number 2 of practice. That's it.
All right, we're doing double Kyle start. Figure out where you want to go from there.
Man. Okay, let's get a little different with this one. Let's play Alex Bowman as our second dominator guy.
I like it.
And then I think here we got to play Hocevar because we haven't played him yet.
It's fine.
Oh my gosh. The lineups build themselves.
I know.
There is nobody in this range that I think has the upside that Suarez brings to the table with where they're starting.
Yeah. I'm just looking if if the projected points for Jones or Dylan are anywhere close to what Suarez has, and if the expected roster percentage is significant, then I'm willing to do it. I obviously like Suarez the most, but if the field's going to be like that, then let's see. Okay, it looks like Jones is going to be more rostered.
Really?
So it looks like and then Dylan's like the same. So let's just click Suarez and call it a day. All right, Brian.
Yeah, I don't. So obviously you can take this with a grain of salt because everybody does things differently. But I manually watch the lap times, and I have Suarez actually noted down of Group 1 as being one of the stronger cars over the long run compared to his group. So
see, I think that's why we work well together, because I don't do that. I just look at the numbers, and I think if we can kind of end up in a similar situation with different paths, same target, I feel really good about it.
Now, I do think that there is a possibility of building a lineup where you put like AJ Allmendinger as the ultimate leverage play, probably of all time. I mean, because who the hell is going to think that AJ in a colleague car is going to be able to keep up with the fastest guys up front? When he went to qualifying, there wasn't many other drivers who stuck it in 3 as confidently as he did, and that car unloaded very fast as well. So I mean, obviously, I think the only way that he's going is a fast train down the negative placement differential. But if he can just hang on to it all day, I definitely think a top 10 is in play. And if he leads a few laps at $6,100, I mean, we're not going to play him with.
We could do more with less. All right. So betting card as it currently sits, I have Kyle Larson at 6. I have Chevy to win at plus 135. Brian has Larson at 6. He has Bowman at 25. And Barry over Chastain because he's a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
As a reminder, all of our card thoughts, write-ups for DraftKings, write-up for bets will be in the newsletter, aoppodcast.substack.com, aoppodcast.substack.com. Please subscribe. It's completely free. You can get it in your email inbox every race day. If you haven't subscribed yet, go check it out. You can go see it this week's newsletter, see if you like it, see if it makes sense, jump in. Larson plus 350. Byron 575. Reddick 750. Bell 8. Blaney 9.5. I know there was a lot of Denny love in the comments before the video got wiped off the face of the earth at 9. Now you can get him at 10. Do you have any interest in any of those names at their current prices?
The only guy that's really popping off to me is Reddick. I think you can get him a little bit longer at other places. I'm pretty sure ESPN has him at 9. I don't hate that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna add Reddick to the card at 9. Because I think of the guys in this range, he's the only one that provides value now. Whereas like Byron, he's got to chase Kyle Larson the whole day. Bell, like we don't really know how he's going to do in race pace. And then Blaney, if he doesn't look as good as he did, or if he looks like he did in practice, that number will be floating all race, and it's going to take a miracle for him to get there.
Okay, let's play the. Would you bet Tyler Reddick at 850?
Probably.
Would you bet him at 8?
So I can't get down at ESPN, but I've been staring at an 8 all night.
Okay, so you're not doing 750 probably, but if you
No.
can get 8 or better, you're interested.
Yeah, just because I think with him starting 12th, I think it's going to be fairly quick that he's going to be. The books are going to realize that he's really fast, and he's going to be running probably top 5 within the first 20 laps or so.
Yeah, I'm always interested in a little Tyler Reddick in my life. I'm probably like you. I'm probably 859 is where I really want to get in, knowing it's out there. The Bell number, I'm not betting, but I think there's opportunity in the head-to-head if you have a strong feeling on him. He's just a guy that, like we said, you don't really want to bet on him, but or against him.
Yeah, the only thing I will say about like Bell and especially matchups like this was kind of brought to my attention by somebody that's probably smarter than us in this space, but the duration of this race presents so many more opportunities for guys to make mistakes and just shenanigans to happen, as we saw in the Xfinity series. So, we may think we have leverage on one guy versus the other, and with the amount of pit stops, like who the hell knows what's going to wind up coming down to the end. So, you kind of want to get paid on most of the stuff you're going to be playing, and unless you have a huge advantage with one side versus the other, or say you're hedging a head to head, I'm not like going to advocate for smashing any head to heads right now.
Question: if you can get Kyle Larson at 470 at FanDuel, are you interested?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think that's the best number available in market based on what I'm looking at. I'm not going to bring up the screen because I don't want to get our video taken down again.
Now, one thing I will say is, as crappy as the racing is going to be at Monaco, I think there's an opportunity here. If you can find a number with Larson, just parlay him with Lando Norris, who's sitting on the pole, which he'll lead the way pretty much the entire race, unless they have an atrocious pit stop at some point, which I doubt is going to happen. McLaren's been on point this year, from what I've been told, because I don't watch that garbage. But you could just parlay those two, and you're looking at a much longer number on Larson, and you avoid playing the risky game of going with an Indy 500 winner, which is essentially IndyCar's Daytona 500, in that almost, I wouldn't say anybody can win, but there's a much larger field of potential winners than there is at Monaco.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good call. It's probably gonna be mostly 4s when you guys are looking, but I think 450 or better on Larson is worth taking a shot on.
Yeah, and I'll say, so in Vegas, Larson is he's shorter than 4 at a couple places.
Yeah. I just wanted to get that feedback in terms of longer odds. Logano, Elliott, Bowman. He's 17 at Caesars, but you can get north of 20. Are you interested in 20 or better on Bowman?
had I not already been on personally, had I not already bet HMS, and then obviously with the show, I mean, I do have a little bit of Bowman on the side too, but and then with the show, like having 25, obviously, I'm not going to play 17, but at 20, I don't mind taking a shot at him.
Yeah.
Especially he's been one of those guys that even after practice, he's looked really good in practice. And then on Sunday, all of a sudden, 10, 15 laps in, the 48 car has looked like an absolute rocket. And I don't know how many times already this year I've added him live. And of course, something bad has happened, but he's been one of the fastest cars in this
Yeah.
package.
And given where he's starting and kind of expectations for Hendrick in general,
Exactly.
he's not somebody that I'm like, oh, I'll just wait until I get a number live, because you
Let's
could
also
get a
not
number
forget,
live, but it could be like 14 or 13. And
let's also not forget the history of that car number here at Charlotte either. This was one of Jimmy Johnson's best tracks.
Fantastic point. Beyond there, Keselowski, Briscoe, Busher, Gibbs, Chastain, Kyle Busch, Cindric, Dinger, Joshua Berry, anybody that you're like, I'm not going to go crazy on the outright, but I wouldn't mind having it in my arsenal come Sunday morning.
Yeah, so I did play a little bit of Chastain. I got a bigger number than this. I don't hate the 33 if you're going to take any of these. I'm not playing Keselowski at 18 with where he's starting. I mean, he's starting 5 spots in front of Chastain, and Chastain practiced with Group 2, which is the group of all of the top cars, whereas Keselowski was out on a cleaner track with the shitty cars. So, I mean, the two are very comparable to me when you look at the pace that they brought. And yes, Chastain's going to the backup, but we've seen already multiple times that really doesn't affect the guys that heavily, especially not at like a 2x amount difference in their outright price for very similar race pace.
I'll once again ask you, in terms of numbers for Chastain, 28, 30 is the number. Yeah. I was like, 28 is too short. 30 seems reasonable.
I mean, that's like very nitpicky, but it's got to be 30 or longer for sure.
Well, he feels like somebody too that you could wait till the race starts and maybe halfway through stage 1, even if your book doesn't have a 30, 35 right now.
It's going to be like 15 or 20 though.
Is it?
Yeah, because if he moves up as fast as if he brings the same pace that he had in practice to the race very early, the books are not going to be hanging 30 plus.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy that does what he does on a routine basis in finding track position some way or another, whether it's taking 2 on pit road for a short stint and just maintaining. And yeah, so I wouldn't mess around with that. If you like Chastain, I think you got to play 30 or longer if you don't have any of them now.
Anyone else you want to shout out before we power down and review the card and kind of figure out where we're going to be going?
Man, all these other numbers, I just don't see them getting to the front. I mean, even the books. I mean, when you look at Briscoe, Busher, Gibbs, all priced in that 20-25 range. We're not playing the Gibbs game anymore. Chase Briscoe, he's on pole, but he looked like crap in practice. He's not going anywhere but backwards. And how do you play Bush? Any outright? Yeah.
I will say our friends over at Win the Race show some value on Bowman, and they show some value on AJ Allmendinger. So,
I mean, let's be real though. Did AJ Allmendinger? Seriously?
Sure, why not?
Not at 35. I mean, he looked great in practice, but we can go down this path all we want. When you look at the winners in the Cup Series, there's like 5 to 8 guys max that are winning races on a routine basis at this level. And you can't convince me that AJ Allmendinger should be priced with Austin Cindric, who's won a race this year, who's won multiple Cup Series races since the last time AJ has won a race, with the likes of Ross Chastain, who he's won multiple races since the last time AJ's won a race. It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to apologize to you in advance, but I am going to be adding Alex Bowman to the card. Our friends over at FanDuel have a 21-1, and that is going on.
That's actually moved $1. I think it reopened at 22.
So Alex Bowman 21, Larson 6, Chevy to win 135, which I was a little worried. We talked about it when we were watching the draft. Our friends over at Win the Race have a really fun show on Wednesdays called The Draft, where they all pick drivers from different race teams, and then there's a wild card and all kinds of fun stuff. But we have really good conversations in the chat and kind of run through bets and stuff too. Full Tank with Phil, really smart. Tino Panatino, really smart. Good conversations over there. But we talked about whether we should be doing Chevy or Hendrick by itself, and Hendrick obviously was juicier. Given what we saw from Ross, given even what we saw from Kyle Busch, kind of happy I have that Chevy, even though like it's probably going to be Hendrick if it's going to be a Chevy, but I like having a little extra out, even if it costs me a little extra.
Yeah, especially now because I think it's that like reopened at like plus 110 or something for Chevy to win. So obviously you got a little bit of CLV there, which obviously means nothing because we don't pay
Famously, our CLV casino is chocked full of.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I still think there's a large uphill battle still in front of the other Chevys outside of the HMS camp, especially when you have probably three of the four best cars too, starting inside the top 10 already, and they're all HMS.
Yep. So Larson, Chevy, and I added Bowman. Brian has Larson, Bowman, Reddick. Here's Barry over Chastain from before practice.
I would not bet that now, by the way.
I was going to let you kind of spit that part out. But yeah, good luck this week. Hopefully you are able to watch this video. Definitely leave some comments. Let us know who you're interested in, both from a DraftKings perspective and at the betting window. Go check out our newsletter. Our friends over at Grid Rival have AOP 25 coupon code where you can get 100% match deposit up to $100. So go check that out if you haven't deposited there. Let's build some pick'ems. We'll have some in the newsletter if you want to tail or if you want to fade. Brian's in Vegas. He'll be talking. I'll be joining. Wormy may or may not be doing multiple pre-race. Is for sure.
Oh, you said multiple?
So Scuttlebutt says maybe a pre-race pull for Monaco if you want to get real wild. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Indy and for the Coke 6. But
that would be incredible.
You know, if you catch this, you're like, oh shit, let's click over, go to Worm's channel. At least come for the Coke 6 talk. It's really good conversation, really smart people in there as well. And kind of get that card tightened up right before the race starts.
Yep.
Make sure you listen to the instructions at the bottom where it says make sure you click that like. It really does do a lot for us. Click subscribe.
Tell your friends, and don't forget Grid Rival. They have a couple of interesting and fun over-unders on drivers for the multiple races going on tomorrow or today as you're watching this.
Yeah.
100% deposit match up to $100 with the code AOP25.
Yeah. I will I'll put two in. Well, there'll be a few in there today. One with Monaco if you catch this before Monaco starts. One with just Indy and NASCAR, and then one with just NASCAR. So go check that out. Use your coupon code, get your deposit bonus, go make some money, hopefully. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. We'll be back on Tuesday to recap the Coke 600 and turn the calendar forward as we head into June and more NASCAR action. Let's win some bets. Let's cash some money on DraftKings, and we'll talk to y'all next time.